Right, on to business. Thank you very much for coming to the seminar. Emma and I work for the Founder Stability Network, which Michael Trend talked a bit about in the first session. And we've been invited to speak to you today about social media. And when Michael Trend said, no, it's Philip who said to me, "Oh, I hear you know about social media," I thought, no, that's not me, but I know a person who does. So I said, yes, we'll love to come and talk, but it'll be me plus Emma. And what I can do is give you the context as to what we were trying to do and why we realised that social media was important to us and what we learnt in those early days. And then Emma's going to tell you what you really want to know, which is how to get it right. So that's the plan, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. But in the last session we had a few questions going through, and that seemed to work quite well, didn't it? Cool.
Great.
You start us off.
So hopefully quite a few of you saw that we sent out a survey asking kind of how often you use social media, what platforms you use, that kind of thing. So I've got the results of you and your fellow attendees. So the majority of you rated yourselves a 7 out of 10 for proficiency for social media, for business, but for social media generally. So, you know, you guys know some stuff. In terms of making the most about social media, you guys want to know about targeting audience, making sure your posts get seen by the right people, and about organic reach and advertising. So those are the things we'll be talking about, among others. And then when asked, what do you think about social media, we got a wide range of answers. Some people were like, yeah, it's great, I love it. Some people were like, I hate it and I don't go on Facebook anymore. And then other people were like, I'm ambivalent. So clearly this is a topic that you guys care about, which is why we're talking about it. Some examples of social media being used for social change particularly. This is a brilliant quote from an article written with some of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm going to read it out. It says, social media could serve as a source of live, raw information. It could summon people to the streets and coordinate their movements in real time. And it could swiftly push back against spurious media narratives with the force of a few thousand retweets. Social media is all about the people, giving power to the people. You can post anything, anyone can see it, or you can post something and only a few people see it, but the control and the power is in your hands. And so, as we've seen with the Black Lives Matter movement, and with a lot of the marches and the protests that have happened, particularly in the last 6 months, social media can be used as a tool to galvanise response in the real world. About 5 or so years ago, people would talk about slacktivism, so posting things like if you care that people don't have enough water around the world, things like that. And that got a lot of slack because people were thinking like, oh, I've done a really good thing for charity, when in reality those charities aren't being helped in a lot of ways. I would say that since then the social media world for charities and organisations has changed dramatically. I've got a couple of examples as to why, and then Catherine's going to talk about why social media is so important for fasting and why we've chosen that, and then I'm going to give some tips as to how to make the most of it. So the Black Lives Matter movement, mainly, it's been around for a while, but kind of started in July of 2013. And since that time, until March 2016, there were over 13 million tweets with this hashtag. It was set up online. It wouldn't have existed without Twitter, without social media. I think it's a real testament to the power of social media for driving change, for galvanizing people. Hashtag Black Lives Matter is the 3rd most used hashtag, social issue hashtag. And after Michael Brown was shot and killed in 2014, for a 3-week period, there were on average 38,000 tweets using this hashtag for 3 weeks. This is a movement that has really used social media for its benefit and to the absolute maximum potential that it had. This is Benedict Cumberbatch, if you don't recognise him, with water on his head. This is part of the Ice Bucket Challenge. You might have done it, I did it. My dad, when we did the Ice Bucket Challenge, poured the water really slowly over my head for maximum pain, which I'm really grateful for. And then he sped up the video because I was in, it was cold, and so I was doing this on my legs, and so the video was just going like this. We got a lot of donations through that. But this is a brilliant example. There were over 2 million related videos posted about this, so over 2 million people did this on Facebook. and over 28 million people engaged with it. So either liked it, shared it, commented it, not just Benedict Cumberbatch, but the Ice Bucket Challenge movement as a whole. And as a result, in 1 month, the ALS Foundation received $98.2 million, compared to $2.7 million the same period in the previous year. So that's an increase of $96 million. So this really works. Like, social media, it's not just a gimmick anymore. Like, if you do it well, like, it does make a difference. It also worked really well because of the celebrity promotion. So there are loads of celebs that got on board. Victoria Beckham did one, Chris Evans of Captain America, he did one in a tux. That was very popular, that got a lot of shares. So yeah, just setting the scene that this social media is a brilliant tool for social media reform. It's not just a gimmick anymore. Catherine.
Yeah, so why did Farson go down this path of social media? Well, a bit of background about Farson. Farson was the sort of idea of Michael Oglesby, who's a philanthropist based up in Manchester. And he spent many years developing a successful business and is now in the great position of being able to give some of that money away. And so he set up the Oglesby Charitable Trust. He's put a lot of money over the years into support for people in difficult situations, people living in deprived areas, especially in the northwest. He's also put a lot of money into think tanks, in trying to influence government policy. So he's done top and bottom, as we were talking about earlier. He's got to the point, though, in that he has a passion for reducing family breakdown. He's fed up of it just being so normal for families to break down and everyone just go, yeah, well, it's probably for the best. And he's going, no, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, sometimes relationships do break down and people shouldn't be forced to stay together like they used to be able to. But surely it's gone too far the other way. I can't hear people saying that in the media. When I switch on the telly, that's not the impression I get. How can I challenge and enter this conversation? So that is why he decided to do something else. So he decided to, first of all, think about what were the key problems for him. For him, the issues are that family breakdown doesn't just lead to a period of sadness for a family. It actually leads to increased likelihood of unemployment, poorer educational outcomes, increased health difficulties, both mental and physical. And this can happen to the couple, the adults involved, and their children. So he said, society is facing a massive bill. So let's really try and address this problem. What more can we do? Like any good social reformer, what he first did, a bit like what Michael was saying earlier, was he got the right people around him. So he reached out to organisations and individuals who had the expertise, the knowledge and the network to help him with what he's trying to do. He'd already been working with several of these in terms of influencing government policy, but now he wanted to get out there into the media. And so he got them together and they developed a plan. They knew what they wanted to say. They knew they wanted to say that relationships require work, that commitment's important, that it's important that you choose the right partner for the right reasons, that you look for the right qualities, and so on. That relationships are a journey, that they change over time. He knew he wanted to say that, but how do you get that message out when you actually haven't got infinite funds? And social media was something that was highly recommended when we spoke to communications agencies, and that's because it's very cost effective, it's got very wide reach. So many people have smartphones now. It's not a luxury product. It can easily be ongoing. Whereas if you have an advertising campaign, you pay for a few months or a few weeks, you burn through a lot of money. It's very difficult to keep it going. But with social media accounts, you can set them up and keep them going. It's very flexible, so you can chop and change. If your funding declines or comes up, there's something you can invest more or less. It's interactive. Unlike many other sorts of communication strategies, you actually can get feedback from people who've seen what you're saying straight away, just simply by their comments or whether they like what you've done. And it's measurable. So those were 6 very good reasons for us to give social media a go. But that doesn't mean it was easy. What we did was we decided to target, first of all, 16 to 25-year-olds, because they are at the early journey of a relationship. Start well, start as you mean to go on. The website was promoted by social media accounts. So visiting the website isn't that important. that's where we keep the stuff. The important thing is to get the stuff, the content out there into the media, and that's what we invested in social media to do. So on our website we've got listicles, videos, quizzes, blogs, and then we have accounts with Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. So that was what we set up. We felt quite pleased with ourselves. But we soon discovered, when we set up in June last year, that it isn't as easy as it can look. We started off employing a big West End agency to produce our content and to manage our social media accounts. And we soon realised that that would require a huge amount of money to go forward, and actually was a bit silly, because the amount of money we were investing in their time to managing social media accounts could have actually been going into advertising budget. So we moved away from that model and tried to do things for ourselves. And we employed somebody to do it for us who knew something about social media, but not loads. And we soon discovered that it is actually quite easy to make mistakes. That you can think you're doing a really good post, you've followed all the rules, you've read everything that it says you should do, but then you discover that it's not reaching anyone, and you don't understand why. And then we discovered that it's because they changed the rules. And actually, you require quite a detailed understanding of these different social media platforms in order to really make the most of them. So my personal feeling is, in the way that you guys say that sort of you've got a love-hate relationship with social media generally, I've ended up seeing that each platform seems to be both my friend and my enemy. So on the one hand, Facebook is saying, you can post all sorts of things on here and you can reach all sorts of different people and do it all different sorts of ways, but I can put together a post and it doesn't reach anybody. I won't go through them each in detail, but I found myself coming up against a brick wall continually. Each thing I wanted to do, it didn't seem to be working for me. I realised also that whilst it's also hard to reach people, it also can be hard to actually explain to other people involved in my work what social media actually is. That's, for you guys in this room, Pure Generation, you're familiar with social media. But if you've got stakeholders involved who are a lot older, they really, really struggle to get it. And even if you say to them, look, you're putting a lot of money into social media, isn't it in your best interest to get on social media? They'll say, no, that's just too demanding for me. That requires too much of a lifestyle change. I can't do it. Honestly, I've urged people, and they said, I can't, I'm trying. So I've learned two things. One is that it's really important to get buy-in from my stakeholders. That is all those people who are influencing what I am doing and whom I want to influence. I've learned that I really need to explain what I'm trying to do with social media and make it very tangible by saying, look, in the next month or the next quarter, I'm aiming to achieve this, this and this. So that even if they don't quite understand what I'm aiming for, they are in agreement that I've either achieved it or I haven't, and then they feel comforted by that. Regular reporting, therefore, is very important, obviously, and I try and give them example posts. So because I know they won't go onto social media themselves, I actually have to show them pictures and do a print screenshot and actually show them what we've actually been doing. I aim to be both inspiring, to give them a real appetite for what social media can be doing for our cause, but also realistic and trying to say, you can't run before you can walk. I mean, one of the things is that my steering group can say to me, but we've reached 300,000 people, marvellous, now what? But that was 300,000 people last month, and we've got to start all over again each day. You've got to keep going. So working with the stakeholders is one aspect, and the other thing is finding the right person to help with social media. I discovered that it can't just be somebody who likes doing social media on a personal basis. It needs to be more than that. So if you're setting up something where you're looking for somebody to manage your social media accounts, you need somebody who's got a real passion for it, a real enthusiasm, because they will need to immerse themselves in it because it changes all the time. So they will want to be reading the articles about how Facebook are changing the rules. Some of us find that a bit of a turn-off, but there are people out there who actually find it very interesting. They've also got to be good with money. You can spend money really, really easily on social media. And that's brilliant, because you can just say, yep, let's put 50 quid behind that, let's do it now, done. But on the other hand, people could run away with it. So they've got to be good at budget management. There needs to be real attention to detail. Typos look silly and sloppy. So it's good to have someone who's got a good eye for detail, and also to avoid horrific mistakes which can lead to disasters. You also need somebody who can be very committed in a consistent way. There's no point them saying, oh, I've got a burst of enthusiasm one week and then they're too busy the next. Whilst there are tools to enable you to schedule in advance, they do need to be somebody who can say, yeah, I'm going to be in the game here to do this for you week in, week out. They need to be flexible because things are constantly changing, but also willing to be spontaneous and make the most of what's trending on social media. They also need to have an insight into the audience and actually be able to stop and think and not say, oh, because I like this or I find this meme funny, so will my audience. They've really got to show an interest in the target audience that you have defined for them. 2 last points. They need to be very persevering because there are so many different rules for different platforms. And ultimately, a very good communicator. You can't just have someone who loves being techie and locked away in their bedroom. It needs to be somebody who really likes reaching out to people, because ultimately, that's what social media is trying to do. So it is a big ask, but I have to say I'm very glad that I've managed to find somebody who ticks all those boxes. So if you could clone Emma, I would suggest it. So perhaps within your scientific artificial intelligence, you could do something with Emma. Yeah, so Emma's going to talk from here as to what her secrets are. She's going to share her tricks.
My secret sauce.
That's right.
Speaking of sauce, let's get some jam. So this is a donut game, and I like doing this wherever I go because I think it's fun and interesting, and I like donuts. So I have got a list here, pass around the donuts, of different ways you might describe your love for donuts on social media according to social media platform. So each of these are relevant for different platforms, different social media platforms. So I would like you to have a guess, write down or have a think about what platform each of these might be referring to. So the first one is, I am eating a hashtag donut, I like donuts, here's my donut recipe, here's an artsy photo of my donut, watch me eating a donut, watch me eat a donut whilst growing a dog is, my skills include donut eating, and ya lublю pchichki, which is Russian. Right. Have a think. You can eat the donut. That's not a reward. You just guarantee you get a donut. Yeah. Look at it, and then if you get enough right now, just eat it. Right, just have a think. It's not a competition. Donuts just smell good.
I've got more.
Yeah? Awesome. What, even the bottom one?
Oh,
How about the skills one? I think I'm not very black.
Okay, right. So I'm eating a hashtag donut. Which one's that one? Twitter. Yeah, I like donuts. Facebook, yeah, inventor of the like button. Here's my donut recipe.
Pinterest.
Pinterest, yes. Here's an artsy photo of mine. Yeah. Watch me eat a donut. YouTube. Vine died, unfortunately. Yeah, R.I.P. It's there with MySpace. Yeah. Watch me eat a donut whilst wearing goggles. Snapchat. Yeah, thanks to the filter. My skills include donut eating. LinkedIn. Yeah. And ya lublю pchichki. VK, which stands for Von Kontaktier, which is the Russian version of Facebook.
Is it like Weibo for like?
Yeah, exactly. So this fun bit of game that allows you to eat a donut proves 2 things. One, that there are lots of different social media platforms out there, lots for you to choose from. And secondly, that other countries have social media platforms that you've never heard of before. Like Von Kontaktier for Russia and for the Russian-speaking countries, and then like WeChat, Weibo for China. And so if your target audience is young people in Kazakhstan, then you need to get on VK, because they're not on Facebook. So it's all about knowing your audience, knowing where they're likely to be, doing a bit of research. But for us in the UK, and for you guys who are trying to achieve social change and social reform. These are the big four that I would suggest you choose from. So either Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. So I'm going to go into detail about each four of these, and then some tips as to how to use them, some tips as to how to play by their rules, and yeah, feel free to stop me if you have any questions at any point. Let's go. Right, Facebook. Facebook has 1.94 billion monthly active users. Every 4 seconds, another account is created. If Facebook was a country by population, it would be one of the biggest countries in the entire world. Like, all the people.
Did it pass the 2 billion mark recently?
This is, it might have, this is as of March 2017,
Ah,
so it might have passed it already.
Past 2 billion a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago.
Flippin' heck. Okay, I need to update my slides. Right, so originally built for college students, and I think that's really important to remember, especially with all of the other kind of modern day ones, RIP MySpace and Bebo and Vine. Whilst platforms like Twitter and Pinterest, they're not on the Facebook platform, Facebook is essentially the foundation for all social media platforms. Whatever Facebook makes an update on either Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram, because it owns them all, others will follow. Case in point, the favourites button on Twitter became a like button because people weren't favouriting stuff anymore, and like essentially became a bit of vernacular that people were using, that it made more sense for Twitter to lose part of its integral architecture and change to what Facebook does. It's important to remember it's a multi-content platform, so unlike any other platform, you can post a link, you can do an instant article, which is like Facebook's equivalent of a web link, a photo, a video, a GIF, a meme, just a text post, you can do live video. It has the most options for you out of any other platform. And that's really important because Facebook tailors its newsfeed based on your user behaviour. So my fiance, he likes watching videos, specifically car videos, specifically really loud car videos. So his newsfeed is just full of car videos. Unless you're posting a car video, he's not going to see it. I like reading. I like getting my news from Facebook. And so unless you're posting an article, something I can sit down and read and spend time over, you're not going to reach me. So it's really important to make sure that all of your content is multi-content. That's easy to do because you could write an article and then you could take a picture from that article and post that with a quote. You could create a meme from it. You can create a video of it with like just moving pictures and text across it. That's quite popular now. So you can take one piece of content, recreate it over loads of different platforms, post one every day, and from one article, you've now got a week's worth of content. Yeah.
I mean, you've touched on, you may talk about it later, but you touched on almost one of the biggest downsides of social media is the tendency to kind of say that whatever you like most, well, that's the only thing you like.
Yep.
And so it fails to actually serve a sufficiently wide range of
Yeah.
interest to people.
Yeah.
Because most people want to see
Things I
not
like.
just things about cars or
Yeah,
you actually want a range. So how is it responding to that?
So it responded to that, Facebook particularly, in a really interesting way during the general election in this country. You might have seen it where it launched this thing called Perspectives, where once it recognised that you had clicked on or were reading or interested in an article about the general election, it then gave you an option underneath it to say, see other perspectives on the election. And so it gave you the option to come out of that cycle of just showing you stuff you like, then to see other perspectives. And so it is kind of responding to that, but I mean, in the same way that, you know, as Michael said in the earlier session, newspapers will only print things that they know their readers are going to want to read, otherwise they're not going to read that newspaper anymore. Facebook will only show you things they know you're going to like because they want you to stay on that platform.
There's two kinds of, there used to be two kinds of newspaper, the broadsheets and the tabloids. And the broadsheets, on the whole, they would try and put an alternative viewpoint in there as well, whereas the tabloids would tend to just stick to the one.
Yeah, but I think there would still, I would still say, and same with magazines, same with radio shows, they know their audience. Ooh, I've come out. And so, well, you know, we've just done a bit of PR, and some of the feedback that we got was, this isn't relevant for our audience. And that's the same bit of feedback you'll get from Facebook if you try to boost things. You can get around it by paying money for it. So if we boost a post, we're more likely to reach people that the algorithm won't automatically show our stuff to. So you have to pay for that kind of privilege. There is a lot of work and a lot of lobbying going into government at the moment to try and make social media a fairer place, especially to combat all the fake news and things that happened around the American election. Yeah.
On boosting, it says, like, on the admin of various pages, and I'm interested in kind of doing some of my own stuff there. So when it says you boost and you reach, 2,500 extra people, how effective is that actually?
I will come on to that.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, no, that is a large part of what we're going to be talking about in a minute. It's also important to remember with Facebook is that it has the widest reach of any other platform. It's got the most diverse range of demographics, most diverse range of locations. So it's really, if you're going to pick one, unless you have a really niche market, Facebook's the one to go for. It's the biggest, you can reach the most, the advertising is the most successful. Apart from millennials. If you want to reach millennials, get on Instagram. Because 5 years ago, my mum joined, and I'm convinced that once my mum was in there, all other mums joined as well. Which means that all people between around the age of 18 left Facebook because they didn't want their mums seeing what they were posting. So now they're all on Instagram. But now my mum's on Instagram, so it's going to change again. Twitter. Twitter is mainly, largely, an online commentary of the real world. Like, I am eating a hashtag donut, people will see things happening in the real world and they'll go on Twitter to comment on them. This is particularly true for trends. So, like with the Grenfell Tower fire, people came on Twitter, they wanted to find out the news, they wanted to find out what was happening, they wanted to find out who was there. It's the same with TV shows as well. Our target audience for Status, 16 to 25-year-olds, are loving Love Island at the moment. They cannot get enough of Love Island. So every time Love Island is on TV, it's the #1 trend in the UK.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it. What they're wearing, what they're eating, what so-and-so said to so-and-so, who kissed so-and-so. Like, honestly, it's like a secondary school playground on Twitter. Everyone's talking about it. And so it's just a commentary of what's happening in the real world, which is why it's really important for connecting with journalists, organisations and influencers. If you want someone to know about you and they're kind of semi-professional, use Twitter to do it. Facebook just won't cut through, and a lot of the time people won't take their professional lives on Facebook. They just kind of keep that for personal relationships. So Twitter's a good place for that. Twitter, also the main pull, the main attraction of it when it first started was that you don't have as much privacy on Twitter as you do on Facebook. So the joy of it was that you could follow or friend, when I joined Twitter, Stephen Fry, and you could kind of be like, I'm following him and I see what he's saying, and if I tweet him, he might see that I've tweeted him, he might respond back. He's still not got back to me, and I tweeted him in 2008, so I'm still waiting, and now he's off Twitter, so I don't think it's ever going to happen. You only get 140 characters, so you need to keep that short, but like Catherine said, they're constantly changing the rules. So last year, they took out mentions and photo URLs from the character count, so now you get a bit more, but it's still only 140.
The other one I know on Twitter that's one of the things that's come up quite recently is a lot of people are, instead of characters, they're doing like text images.
Yeah.
So
and GIFs.
And so GIFs and text images so that you can get like several paragraphs in if you do it that way.
Just like a screenshot of a note thing. Adele does that quite a lot.
Right.
Follow Adele, she's great.
Love it.
But is it on the way out? So last year, Twitter canned like half of its workforce, just laid them all off. Year on year, they're not getting as much growth as the other social media platforms. Some people have said that they reckon it'll take a year, some people said 5 years, some people say it just fade into obscurity. We're not really sure what the purpose of Twitter is in a Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp world. Will it die? I'm not really sure. I think people still want to go and talk about Love Island somewhere, but we'll see. Instagram, photo and video sharing only. Do not be one of those people that are fooled into thinking it's like Facebook because it's owned by Facebook. You cannot put a URL in a Instagram caption. You can't click on it. I knew for a while when Instagram first started and then it got bought out by Facebook, people started in the comments thinking that now it's owned by Facebook, they'll allow them, and then they'll have like a back catalogue of like a year's worth of Instagram things that people can now click on. It's never going to happen to people. You can't do it. because Facebook have now allowed it through advertising. If you want your links to be clickable, you pay for that kind of privilege. Only the best content survives. If you've not got beautiful photography, or it's a meme, it's not going to get found on Instagram. If you're having your own personal account, like my mum does, to post pictures of her allotment to show her friends, Instagram's great for that. If you want to get reach and traction and you want to grow a movement, you need to make sure you've got really good photography and you're trying to reach millennials. If your target audience is 65-year-old men in Aberdeen, you're not going to reach them on Instagram. Go to Facebook for that kind of thing. So yeah, beautiful imagery, millennials, no links. That's Instagram. LinkedIn, great for business, rubbish for everything else. If you want to post your pictures of your holiday to Corfu, don't put it on LinkedIn. It will damage your professional reputation and it will come back to bite you. Don't do that. Also, the advertising on LinkedIn is rubbish. Don't spend money on it. Their algorithm is pants and it wastes your money and they don't give you good enough reporting back for it. Spend your money on Facebook and Instagram. Don't bother. But it does help you connect with potential donors and partners. If you want to start building your professional network, LinkedIn is the place to do that. LinkedIn is also a place for flattery. You might feel uncomfortable in it in the real world. Maybe you're not a schmoozer. But on LinkedIn, you can be a schmoozer because no one's going to see you schmooze. And you may be getting red in the face whilst you're doing it, but no one knows that. So your strategy for LinkedIn would be find people you admire. Connect with them if you know them. If you don't know them, follow them. If they have a big enough presence, they essentially have a mini Twitter on LinkedIn. Whenever they post something, comment on it. That's a really insightful article. Thank you for sharing it. I particularly like X. Do that a few times and then try and start a conversation with them. Ask them questions. Because if you're commenting on the right people, you're showing an interest, especially if they're potential donors. If they care about the issue you care about, they're likely to comment back and get back to you. And even if they don't, people who care about the same issue as you will see that you've commented and you might be able to spark a conversation with them. Use it to build your professional reputation and that of your cause. Remember, it's a professional environment. You're not going to come into the office talking about your wild holiday to Corfu if you know the boss is in the room. Same thing with LinkedIn. Just don't go there. Keep it professional, keep it informative. You're doing your own PR on LinkedIn. Playing by the rules. As Catherine alluded to earlier, there are very specific rules on each of these platforms that you need to obey by, otherwise you're not going to reach them. This only really is relevant for business accounts. For your personal account, and you just want to use it to have fun and to share those pictures of holidays or to try and find you a new job or something like that, these things don't really matter. But if you're trying to build a brand or you're trying to start a movement or make sure that people are hearing about the causes you care about, this is really important. Yeah.
It's EdgeRank.
I'm coming on to that. Facebook's main rule is EdgeRank. Has anyone heard of EdgeRank? Yeah, awesome. So EdgeRank is the things that define what ends up in your newsfeed. So the fact that you only see things, that your newsfeed is different than any other newsfeed is down to this really complicated algorithm. They change it so often, which is why, as Catherine said, you need to be able to keeping up with that. Some great resources for that include Digiday, Digiday, and Social Media Examiner. Slight caveat on Social Media Examiner, they've got this really weird little icon of a dude that's got like an explorer's hat and he appears in random places. He's essentially like the Up version, if you've seen the film Up, the balloons, of the paperclip from Microsoft Word back in the 90s. Be warned, he's irritating, but their information is really useful. EdgeRank is defined in three main ways. Firstly, how recently did you post? So, an example, if I am wanting to tell people about my birthday party that's coming up, if I post at 1 AM when I'm up late, my friends who are then, checking social media on their way into work are not going to see it anymore. It doesn't then exist because other people have been up since then, posting new content, newspapers who post things like every other day, every other hour, Unilad, that are just like flooding my newsfeed at the moment. It will just go by that point. There'll be nothing left of my 1 AM post about please come to my birthday party. Make sure you post at the right time. Thursdays and Fridays get 18% more reach and traction than any other day of the week. Don't be fooled by the weekend. No one's on social media at the weekend. They're all at the pub or they're playing football in a field. They've got no signal. Thursdays and Fridays are the day you want to go for. Second thing is affinity. So how close to you how close is your Facebook behaviour to the thing that's posting? So my close friends, my best friend Holly, she likes my stuff on Facebook quite a lot. She's a very supportive friend. So she will search for my name quite often to see what I've done, or if I post a picture, she'll like it, or she'll comment on it, she'll give me a little heart emoji. So if I post something, I am really, really likely to appear in Holly's newsfeed. A friend that I went to primary school with, that I randomly saw the longest, and then I added them on Facebook 6 years ago, they're never going to see my post. We never interact. We have no mutual friends anymore. We have no mutual interests. I'm never going to see their stuff. So for a business account, you may have 10,000 likes, but if you've been going for 5 years, the likelihood of those 10,000 people seeing your post is incredibly minimal. It is only really the people that interact with you on a daily basis that are going to see your posts organically, which is why you have to pay for privilege like that. And the third thing that dictates your Facebook edge rank is the type of content you're posting. As I said earlier, my fiance loves videos. He'll watch videos all day on Facebook, whereas I won't. If a brand only posts articles, Adam, my fiance, is never going to see that content. He's never going to engage with that brand or that charity. If they only ever post videos, then I'm never going to see them. It's really important that you have a multi-content strategy on Facebook. Really important. Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram, hashtags are the way to go. That's the way that they categorize their information. Particularly on Twitter, if something is trending, you want to get on board that. So for us, it means tweeting, scheduling our tweets at the same time Love Island's going out, reminding people about our Love Island blog, because our target audience love Love Island. On Instagram, you may find it really irritating when people post a picture of a picnic and they're like hashtag blue sky, hashtag picnic, hashtag summer. You might find that really irritating, but they are using Instagram well. They're using it correctly. And as a brand, you need to do that because Instagram is all about discovery. They don't help you in any way to find your things organically. Whereas Facebook, if one of your friends likes Coca-Cola, you will see in your newsfeed, well if Holly did it, I would see that Holly had liked Coca-Cola. If Holly has liked a post from, I don't know, Daniel Day-Lewis, random person to sleep, Damien Day-Lewis, that if she has liked his post, I will then see that in my newsfeed. Instagram doesn't work like that. The only way you discover new content, or the only way your content gets discovered by new people, is through hashtags.
So just a question on Facebook and the types of content that it likes. Is that just determined by the person using Facebook? So for example, if I just like video content, it will just privilege video content to me over other stuff. Yeah. But also as a natively as a platform, does it like certain types of content? Yeah. So for example, videos might keep people more engaged. So as a platform, it wants people to spend more time, so much privilege videos over. Yeah. There are two natively privileged things on Facebook. One being instant articles, which is a Facebook-owned product. So BuzzFeed will create a BuzzFeed article on their platform and share it, but they'll also replicate that exact same article on Facebook's instant articles. Because you can read something, never leaving Facebook. You'll click on it, and then it'll send you back to Facebook by the end of it. So you won't leave it, so Facebook like that. The other one is live video, because it's a new thing. So Facebook are really pushing it. They give you like maximum edge rank points for using their stuff, essentially. Also, Facebook photos and videos will do better than just plain text posts. And polls aren't that popular anymore, so don't worry about those. LinkedIn, as I said, advertising, rubbish, don't do it. But Pulse, which is not really known that well, is LinkedIn's blog. You can write a Pulse, anyone can write a Pulse article. And LinkedIn love it when you do that. Same with Facebook with their instant articles and their live videos. Essentially, if I was the personification of LinkedIn and someone wrote a post article, I would go, oh my gosh, someone's using my thing correctly. I'm so excited. Everybody look, someone's written a Pulse article. That is exactly what happens in their algorithm. So if you like writing about something and you care about a cause or about an injustice that's happened, or you want to galvanise people for a movement and you want to attract business people, LinkedIn Pulse is the way to go, because LinkedIn will be really excited you're using the platform correctly. The money question. Facebook advertising, particularly, because we've established that LinkedIn advertising is rubbish and Twitter might die soon anyway. So until that is kind of resolved, until we're sure, until Twitter make a massive change to their platform, I wouldn't recommend spending lots of money on it, unless you're like a PR company or something. But Facebook advertising is an absolute must. You cannot get away with not using it because of AirDrank, because of their algorithm. From a personal point of view, like speaking not as a business person, I love the fact that businesses and brands have to pay money to get into my newsfeed, because I didn't sign up for Facebook so that Ray-Bans can target me and say, buy our new Ray-Bans. I'm not down for that. I joined Facebook so I can keep connected with my friends, so I can read the news, and so I can see funny memes of cats in pajamas. That's why I joined Facebook, and that's what I want to see. I don't want adverts. As a business person, I get really irritated when Facebook changed their algorithm, making it harder for my Farson or status posts to be seen by people unless I put money behind it. Because I've spent lots of time creating this meme that I want people in the age range of 16 to 25 to see, so they care about their relationships. It's really irritating, but it's the way to go. I would bet money that I've spent on Facebook advertising to say that in a few years' time, you have to pay for everything on Facebook. I reckon that's the way it's going to go. As a brand, you're going to have to pay for everything because it's so competitive. There are so many people using the advertising market now on Facebook and Twitter that you're just going to have to pay money for it. Otherwise, you might as well not have one, unless you're Black Lives Matter or the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge or something that is happening in the real world as well that is inspired. The only problem with that is that no one's doing the Ice Bucket Challenge anymore. So if your entire social media strategy is based on trends and based on the fact that people are still going to care about you in a year's time, you're going to fail. Because you need to keep paying to keep getting your stuff in the minds of people, because you can't rely on public interest all the time. Did you have a question?
I was just wasn't quite sure who you meant by who has to pay. Do you mean like personal users or just advertisers?
Advertisers.
Okay.
Personal users you're fine, because Facebook love you, because that's the reason they set up Facebook. But in terms of brands, you're just going to have to pay.
On advertising, so it's about, so I think it's what, £4 per 2,500.
So you can boost as much or as little as you want.
Right, and so I wonder, is there say if you're thinking you've kind of got the additional value each time you pay £4, is there a kind of a good amount to pay on that? Is there kind of a sweet kind of middle, or is there knowledge?
The more money you pay, the more people you'll reach.
Okay.
There is no sweet spot.
Okay.
Sneaky Facebook. Okay.
Right.
I mean, so you'll have for example, so like the British Heart Foundation, or Save the Children, they spend mega bucks on social media people, but on social media advertising as well, because they know that's the way to get there. Like, almost, I think, I had a friend that worked at a very popular charity, and last year their social media spending overtook their PR spending. They spend more on social media now. And the more money you spend, the more people you'll reach. Facebook are really good in that you can be so specific with your targeting. Say your target audience is 35 to 36-year-old women who have children in Hertfordshire that have also been on holiday to Canada at some point in the last 10 years. You can target that specific. It's creepy, but it's brilliant from a Facebook marketing point of view. You can target them, unless they've been like, don't show me adverts from them, because you can't turn adverts off, but you can say, I don't want to see adverts from this person anymore. So just don't be too annoying with your adverts. But you can be that specific. And so unlike billboard advertising, where you'll be like, okay, I just want to reach the entirety of London and just hope that people in my target audience see it, you can be really specific. So with Status, we're able to target 16 to 25-year-olds only, and then we're able to target just people that are interested in dating, in relationships advice, in First Dates, the TV show, Love Island. You can be so specific. And then you can create different audience sets. So if we're posting about Justin Bieber, like my Justin Bieber thing is so specific. Like I only want to target people, women, girls, between the ages of 16 and 18, because once you're 18 and over, you're kind of, you're not quite as caught up with the Bieber fever anymore. So, and then you can target only that they've liked Justin Bieber, or any of his albums, or any of his songs, that they've played any of their things on, that they like him on Instagram, like so specific. And you can do the exact same thing for Instagram. So you can now do that kind of targeting as well. And that means that people are going to click the links to your website if you do that for Instagram. You can do it as like a small amount, or you can do it like, okay, well, instead of getting my daily Starbucks, I'm going to spend that £3.20 on Facebook instead. And you'll reach, several hundred people. So it's not just, Facebook advertising isn't just for the big wigs, the people with the megabucks. You can do it yourself.
How would the kind of number, so suppose you, for 2,500 people that you reach,
Yeah.
how many of those are likely to click on your article or your post or whatever?
Yeah, that's down to your stuff, essentially. Facebook will say, you can reach this many people. Whether it actually reaches that many people is how well you know your audience.
Okay.
So it's so important. So for Status, our target audience is 16 to 25-year-olds. And the way that I speak on a Status post compared to my own personal post is a lot more chatty. I use a lot more emojis, probably a few more hashtags, and probably a lot more slang than I would do normally, because I know that that's the way that they talk to each other. If I went on there and spoke in my, fairly well-educated white female voice, then I wouldn't reach nearly as, you just got to be as broad as you possibly can. This is also, as a point that I made in the last session, it's really important to distinguish whether you're going to be yourself on social media or you're going to represent a brand. If you're going to be yourself on social media, make sure you're the same in real life as you are on social media, because hopefully you will then become a celeb, or your brand that your brand that you are part of becomes really important. You get invited on BBC Breakfast, and on social media you're like this really witty, fast-paced person, and then you get on the BBC Breakfast couch and they're like, so be funny. You're like, that's not me. You'll get caught out, and then you'll be labelled fake, essentially. Whereas if you represent a brand, make sure you don't talk as yourself. Make sure you talk as that brand. Know what that tone of voice is going to be, know what your target market is so that you can adjust your tone of voice as needed, and then speak to the right audience, speak to the people you need to speak to. Some my 3 top tips. I talk quite fast, so if you missed a lot of stuff, these are the 3 things you need to remember. Social media is continually evolving. I am never going to get to the point where you're like, you know what, I've made it. I totally understand social media. I never need to learn another thing. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I did today for the rest of my life and make loads of money. It's never going to get to that point. Facebook, as it is now, is completely different to what it was 5 years ago. Instagram was nowhere near as popular. WhatsApp didn't really exist. Vine was still going. Social media is continually evolving. MySpace tried to make a comeback. It didn't work. It's always changing. Advertising shouldn't be seen as a last resort. Like I said, I think in a few years it's going to be the only option for brands. Don't be afraid about it. Start small. If you can prove that, with your £3.20 a day, you're reaching X amount of people, which is driving X amount of click-throughs to your website, that's a really good stat to give to a potential donor. If you're trying to get money, I know that if I put X amount of money on it, we're going to get this much traffic to our website, and people are going to read our stuff. If you give me more, then I can get more people to a cause that you care about. It's very compelling. The third thing, know your audience and speak to them. You gotta, even if you don't spend as much time learning about social media and all the intricacies and things like that, just be really sure about who you want to communicate to. Be really sure that you know how they want to be spoken to. One thing that we've tried to do with Status is that we don't want to be patronising. Like we want to do peer-to-peer relationship advice. Like we want to speak as one of them, and so we get people like I'm still in that target market just, and so like I have a bit more credibility and authenticity than someone who's in their 30s. Like I can be a bit more relevant. And we've got other people that write our articles who are in that target market because we want to be credible and authentic. And social media is all about the people and being relevant to the people. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
Hang on, 5 o'clock, isn't it?
Better than the last round.
Just one on in terms of you were talking about like Facebook advertising reaching people, and if you nail your approach, you nail kind of social media, talking to them in the right voice,
Yeah,
etc., and put some budget behind it, you can reach people.
yeah.
Have you got any kind of obviously like behavioural changes is a few steps almost like beyond that and stuff.
Yeah.
How have you found talking particularly to that age group, and how do you measure like offline change?
Yeah.
With that or the transition from onto it.
It's a really good question. It's also not something we've cracked yet. I think that's hard to it's hard to measure offline. Like we're trying things like doing quarterly questionnaires. So trying to get people to kind of respond back to us so we can see a change in behaviour. It's also something that Catherine's had to communicate to the trustees and people on our steering board, as in like we can't like turn around in 10 years and be like status is all this we've followed a 16-year-old between now and in 10 years time, and he said that that status helps change his relationship. We probably won't get that kind of data, and if we could get it, we wouldn't get it for 10 years, so that doesn't really help us now. In all of my reporting, I kind of list 3 ways in which kind of that status is making a difference on social media. So one being reach. We're not going to get any change happening or any engagement happening unless we're reaching the right people. And the narrower, so if you think about social media as a funnel, so like reach is the top, and then engagement, and then change. Like it's a funnel. Like you're not going to get the same amount of people go all the way through. So the wider your reach is, the more people you're going to change. And so we spend a lot of time and effort trying to get that wide reach as much as possible. Then we track engagement, which will be things like clicking the link to go and read the article, like and share. And then so I also do Google Analytics as well, so we can track how long someone stayed on the page. So whether they just went on and be like, not for me, or whether they actually stayed for 5 minutes and read the entire article. And we would, we get people to write these articles because they care, and they're quite like confessional stuff. Like we posted an article recently about one guy about why he lied about his sex life, about depression. So it's really real stuff. So a lot of it you can't help but, assume that people are affected by it, especially if they spend that long reading it. And then in terms of change, we do monitor the comments. It is hard. I'm coming to the conclusion that I don't think social media is the right place for monitoring change, because people aren't willing to be open on social media. So if you're trying to help young men and women with, have healthy boundaries with pornography, for example, they're not going to comment on your Facebook post about how to have healthy boundaries with pornography, about being like, this has really helped me with my pornography addiction. Because everyone else who's friends with them on Facebook will then see their comment, and their mum, which is most likely on Facebook as well, and that's going to be an awkward conversation when they get home from college.
One of the things that we're thinking about is, once you've actually got them engaged to a certain degree, what's the pathway you want to take them on? So one of the things that we're looking into is apps and developing relationship apps. So we say, if you're really interested in this idea of having a healthy relationship, download this app, and it can give you with prompts and ideas every day, because there's some great relationship advice out there, but getting it relevant to people's lives and getting it as a sort of daily medicine is very difficult. But of course I'm really aware that everybody's offering you an app these days, and there's only so much space on your smartphone, so that's going to get very tricky too. We don't have any easy answers, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I suppose it's finding out where you fit in that particular kind of on and offline kind of sphere, I suppose, in terms of people might offer a one-to-one, or you kind of use support, or you kind of peer-led groups or something like that. And I
That's a
suppose,
really
yeah,
important point, because our original idea was always about sort of then referring people on to the people who do work on the front line. And actually, as you said at the beginning, you know, so social media is now meeting the real world, and it's integrating the two. So we're also trying to work with people who are running courses, doing small group work, saying, look, let us bring people to you, but they need to help connect with us. So it's all about finding a way forward and learning to work together differently.
It's something we did as well with our last campaign, so the report that's in front of you. We interviewed 16 to 19-year-old men about their attitudes towards relationships, and one of the key findings that came out was about loneliness and how young men are really lonely and don't feel they have anyone to talk to. And so, in part of our content strategy, we created blogs and Facebook articles about if you don't want to talk to someone face to face, here's some really great online resources and some anonymous counselling and things like that. So we just try and, refer people on to the best place for that change to allow to happen. Well, I guess we're also, relationships are really complicated things, and they're tied up with really complicated things like self-esteem and self-worth. And I don't think that you can change someone's self-esteem online. Personally, I believe that that's a God thing. Like, you need to know your identity as a child of God. That's what helps. That's what really makes that big change. But I think you need that human interaction. You need that human help for that. Like, we want to provide as much resource as possible, but we also don't think that we're the solution for this. We just want to raise more awareness, get people talking, and get people to the right places where they can have that change and that help.
I think both generally, probably all generally it's helpful, and so you mentioned Social Media Examiner and DigiDay, and there are other things that you'd recommend people to read from here. And so I can give an example that I kind of looked at times of day to post on something, and I search on Google, and you get 50 different answers, and so it's kind of quite difficult to know what is the kind of thing to look at on something like that. So they're good advice that you can have places to go.
Yeah, the Facebook help section's really good.
Okay.
Their FAQs they release their statistics regularly. So that's where there's 18% more reach on Thursdays and Fridays it came from, and things like that. They will kind of do like a semi-PR release around changes to their algorithm and things like that, but just not in enough detail. A lot of the social media stuff is just like trying stuff out. Like, the Instagram community are dead set. There's a thing called shadow ban, and if you don't follow the Instagram rules, then Instagram penalise you. But there's been no proof for that. It just kind of came from the community as this shadow ban thing. So a lot of it's experimentation. Post at different times of the day, see what works, because your audience will be different. Your audience might be early birds. They might be people that like clicking on at lunchtime. They might only like memes, as 16 to 19-year-olds seem to do. Try and see what's best for you, for your audience. Yeah.
Because for the social media, there's one aspect that's really, now there's a lot of pressure on Facebook and Google about them really facilitating all these terrorism recruitment and all these things, right? It's very easy to get. It's a good platform that you guys use, right? So what do you think in the future? Because I see the tension, right? How can you ban some stuff on Facebook or Google? Right? So how do you see that going?
Yeah, it's really difficult. I think social media is a tool. I don't think social media is inherently good or bad. It can be really good things, like keeping in contact and spreading really important causes and messages and things. But it's also a dark corner where there's hate speech and there's sharing of child pornography and there's cyberbullying and all these horrible things. And you've got to balance people's desire for freedom of speech and not being monitored every single hour of the day by the government. But I do think that social media platforms are going to have to get a lot more tough and a lot more open and transparent with how they filter information, how they, how they class things as hate speech or not, which I think is a hard thing to do, especially as Facebook is global. And so what counts as hate speech in one country will count as sarcasm in another, and then you get labelled a terrorist for making